confirmation of the agenda. I assume that there are no additions. Where's Carla? It is the way we see it, I take it.
Yes, there are no additions to the
Okay,
agenda.
thank you. So a motion to confirm the agenda as it was sent out would be in order. Moved by Councillor Marshall, second by Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. Thank you. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with the agenda as it was sent out? Okay, seeing none, we have a number of items on the consent agenda. Here we go. 20, as a matter of fact. 20 items on the consent agenda. Is there anything there anybody wants to pull or would like further explanation on, or would like it dealt with separately? Don't see anything. Okay. There was a very good write-up about what's going on at County Council. I know sometimes I get Doug to talk about that, but there was a fairly thorough update on what's happening at the county. So that was good. If there's no questions on that, then a motion that we accept the consent agenda would be in order. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Murray. Thank you. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. We do not have a delegation or a public meeting. The first item that we have under reports is the building officials report, and I assume that Jeff is going to do that report tonight.
So the report was provided to council with the agenda package. As I noted, Bob McLean's unable to attend tonight. I'll try to answer questions if there are any.
Was there any questions with regards to the chief building officials report? Okay, moving on then. There is an item, the sign variance application. And there is a recommendation there with regards to that. Jeff, do you have anything to add to that?
I have nothing to add, Mayor McKenzie. It's a request for a variance that the building official, I believe, was supporting.
Right. The recommendation is that we approve the application for exceptional circumstances sign bylaw, and the property is 6103 line 49. I believe it's very similar to the ones that we had there a month or so ago that we had dealt with as well. If there is no questions on that, then a motion to deal with that recommendation would be in order. Councillor Murray and Councillor Krinkowski. Oh, sorry, question.
I do have a,
sorry.
yes.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I do have a question. I'm curious about the term exceptional circumstances. Is that just an old term, or it just sounds odd?
Yeah, and I don't know if Jeff can weigh in on this. Like, it's double-sided, and I'm not sure if that's why. It's over twice the square footage is what would normally be allowed, but it said it was double-sided. Jeff, can you bail me out on this one?
Yeah, and I don't know any more than that. I agree, it's double-sided, and I believe it's just it's the way they're saying variance. It's a variance, essentially a variance, but they're using that term of exceptional circumstances.
Doug?
As they're not renting any of these out, line 49, there's nothing on that road. Like, line 49 is the Kennicott, right?
Yes.
Dean? So I don't know why they're going around. Like, none of the ones we've done yet have anything on them. We've given them exceptions, all of them, because they're too big. It's just a company out of Toronto, but none of them are rented. There's no billboards on any of them. I wonder what the purpose of, like, putting one. I could see on Highway 8, even on 44, but on 49, I don't know where 6103 is.
Well, that's the first, actually, it's the second property on 49. It's Vanderhoven's, but the sign, I assume, will be on that farm, but it'll be facing the highway. It'll be nearer the highway.
Oh, so
Well,
we don't-
obviously, they had to have MTO approval, like, that's why.
Yeah, there used to be a sign there. Is it gone, Walter? I just can't, there used to be, and there used to be an anti-abortion sign there for years.
I can't,
Yeah.
yeah, I remember that sign being there. I don't know if it's still there. Maybe Dean
I-
can help us out on
I
that
don't
one.
know if it's still there or not.
But anyways, it's a sign. It's going to be double-sided, and I wondered that MTO would allow to be double-sided, but they've given permission. But the fact that the farm is off of line 49,
Right.
but it goes up to the highway, and they're putting it next to the highway, so.
Right, it's Vandenhoven's. Yes, I did.
Yes, yes. Any other questions on that one? Okay, I think we were in the process of getting a mover and seconder, and I don't know, Anna Marie, do you still want a second or move that?
Actually, I did have a
Sure.
question, Walter.
Oh, sorry, Jeff.
I'm just the way it looked to me, and maybe I misunderstood. Was it was an actual size, just being the double billboard? I'm just curious, what is the current size of the in our bylaws, and is this something we need to? Should we have it larger in our bylaws so we don't have this coming up now? Because we seem to be MTO and we seem to be just kind of rubber stamping. Is this something that we should be looking at doing?
So we'll have to ask, and my apologies for not being able to answer. And obviously, I wasn't able to speak to Chief Building Official McLean before the meeting. So I think it's a question, if you'd like to refer it to Bob McLean for a report, that would be, we could take that as direction, but I'm not able to answer.
And we can defer this until till the next meeting, and Bob has a chance to explain it to us if you want. And, just need to, looking for guidance here from you people as to what you would like to do here. We haven't voted on the motion. We had a mover and a seconder, but we never moved, or we haven't gone on that. Anna Marie?
Yes, I'm kind of curious as to what kind of restrictions we have regarding all these billboards. Can anybody just apply for one and have one put up? Do we have any say in how many in the community, or I'm just curious about that. And I would like to find out a little bit more about our bylaws regarding these signs.
No, it's a good question, Anna Marie. And I'm going to ask Carla what we have there. Like I did pick up a mover and seconder, but we can withdraw that motion and then have a motion to defer it until the next meeting.
Yeah, and I apologize. I don't think I actually recorded the seconder, or
Okay,
I only caught Councillor Murray. But these billboards are, I believe, under the sign bylaw, which from my standpoint, it would be something that should be reviewed. I believe it's from 2011, but even technology has changed so much from 2011. It'd be a good time to review the bylaw in general.
Councillor Tinkowski, you had a question.
No, I was raising my hand to signify that I was had seconded the motion before
Right.
the
Okay, I
discussion had began.
apologize.
Okay, so are the mover and seconder willing to withdraw that, and we'll have a motion just to defer it?
No, I'm willing to proceed with the motion that's tabled on the agenda.
Okay. Anna Marie, I took you as a mover. Are you still okay with that?
Actually, I would prefer not to be the mover. So if you can
Okay.
find someone else, please do so.
All right. Well, the other option is we move it and then we just vote against it. But okay, do we have a seconder? Dean said he would second it, but we still need a mover for that motion.
You're kidding me. They're gonna kill this.
Murray, you're going to move that? Okay, so the motion is, and I'll read it once more,
I can't.
that we approve the application for exceptional circumstances to the sign bylaw 80, 2010 at property 6103 line 49. So we've had a bit of discussion, and the feeling is that maybe we should defer this and get a little bit further information on it, but that's up to up to you people, how you want to deal with this one. So any further discussion or questions on this one? Okay, got a question for Carla here again. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay, so not knowing how this vote is going to go, if it is carried, that's fine. We can still get Bob's information and explanatory notes on what goes on here. If it's defeated, can we bring it back again at the next meeting after we get the information?
So if this is moved, this resolution, then this application would be able to proceed. However, but if it was defeated, yes, it could come back if the second resolution was that this application be brought forward again with a review of whatever the resolution that council would propose. If they wish to review this application again, the resolution would include that motion.
Right. Okay. All right. All right. Nicholas?
The last time that we voted on the sign bylaw like this one, it barely passed, I think 6-5, if I remember correctly, or something very close to this. Yep. Just so that we were aware from the last time.
Anna Marie?
Yes, much as I don't like these, I'm willing to vote in favor of this one simply because we passed the other ones. But I would really like to get a review of our assigned bylaw and how these billboards fit into our landscape. That's all.
Oh, fair enough. And we'll certainly make sure that happens next time Bob's here. We'll ask for a full report on that. Any other questions or comments on this? Okay, I have read the motion. It was moved by Councillor Rose and seconded by Councillor Trinkowski. Seeing no further questions, all those in favor of the motion? Okay, I've got to do some counting here. Keep your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, motion's carried. Thank you. All right, the next item then is a report from the fire chief. So Chief Hunter, the floor is yours and the screens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. So this is the May-June activity report. As council can see, our call volume during those 2 months is still below normal in overall numbers and in hours worked. You'll see in the next report, July, August, continuing to creep back up again at our next meeting. For training, we're still doing our training, but we're keeping our groups minimum 2 platoons, so trying to keep it 10 firefighters maximum. And it seems to be working well. I've had lots of good comments on that. And for public education, we had a good opportunity with the library to make some home deliveries of educational material. And we had lots of good feedback on that. And I'll gladly answer any questions.
Councillor Tam, sorry.
Chief Hunter, just and this might be a question for you as well as the building committee. The clock on the new hall, is everything good with that?
Yes, there's been lots of discussion on it. Jeff's had the clock expert in looking at it. There's a plan. Everything seems to be moving forward with everything, not just the clock, but the entire build.
Okay, that's great. I heard a few things that there was maybe hiccups with the clock, so I just wanted to make sure that everything was good.
Nothing that we haven't been able to work through.
Great, thank you.
Not only do we have the original clock, but we also have the original bell, and the bell actually will work. So we've got it. It's all been cleaned up and refurbished locally. And yeah, the chap that Jeff had come in, and Jeff can speak to that, but the chap that came in the expert on the clocks. He's quite impressed with what we've got. So I think it'll be a good thing with the clock and the bell and hose tower. Everything works in there together. Any other questions on that, on Bill's report? Okay, if not, on here, just bear with me. Recreation and Facilities Manager. Sorry, Darcy, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report's in front of you in regards to the West Perth Community Center ice reopening. I will just do a couple highlights that we did meet with all the major sports groups. None of them could commit to September ice at this point due to the fact of where they're at in their planning process, but a lot of them were ready to go start of October. So I recommended to them that we start October 2nd, and everybody seemed to be on board with that. It seemed to work good with everybody. The reopening plan is attached to the report. It is a live document. We're going to be perfecting that right till the moment we take the ice. So there's a few things we're still working on, but it has most of the stuff and where we're going. And other than that, I think I can take any questions.
Okay, questions for Darcy? Councillor Tam first.
How are the dressing rooms going to be split into pods, Darcy?
So it'll be
physical walls, or?
No, so it'll just be that 5, 6, 7 will be one rental, and 2, 3, 4 will be another rental. So when you come in the doors in between dressing rooms, you'll either go to pod A, which would be 5, 6, 7, or pod B, which will be 2, 3, 4, and then the teams will stay amongst those. The health unit has gave us the permission to use the dressing rooms. They said to minimize the capacities as much as we can, but as long as face coverings are worn, they felt it was okay to use the dressing rooms. But they recommended no shower.
Okay, great, thanks.
Deputy Mayor, I had a question.
As we go, say on the, we meet again rapidly here, right? We meet on the, I think the 8th and the 22nd next month. Like, is it all just going to be practices for, like you said, the Hawks aren't going to start till December. So are we going to utilize our time like enough? Or is it going to sit empty half the time? Or is like Ringette committed to 20 hours a week and minor hockey 50 and the Hawks 10? Is it all done?
We've just started the scheduling process, but from what I can tell right now, we're actually, if anything, going to have not enough ice to satisfy everybody due to the small groups and the spreading out. I do, as of right now, do not see a problem with filling our regular ice with the user groups that we are having. It is going to be mostly practices and some 3-on-3 games and such, but I don't think we'll be back to 5-on-5 for a while, but I don't think we'll have any trouble filling our normal ice.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that Stratford's got 4 rinks. They're going to open 1.
Mm-hmm.
We got 1 rink. I don't know if you've talked to Moncton. Have you talked to our portion of Moncton if they're going to open or if they're going to stay closed for the year?
The last I heard, they were still deciding, but it was looking like they could be opening early October as well. I don't know if Jeff has any other information on that, but the last I talked, they were looking at an early October opening as well. But I know Listival's opening for sure.
Okay. Any other questions for Darcy? There was an email that I got today, Darcy. I just had a chance to glance at it, but the numbers are going up. Like before, 50 was the magic number for an entire facility or community center. No matter how many rooms there were, you could only have 50, but they're upping that now, right? You can't have up to 50 in each room.
Correct. So yeah, that was the change. And actually we had applied to the provincial government to get the exemption taken from us that we wanted to use the hall and the arena separately because they are separate entrances, separate everything.
Right.
And they came back to us and basically said, give us some more time, but as of right now, no. And then 2 days later, they did come out with that they are allowing 50 per event facility. So the community hall could be separated from the arena. So you could have 50 in each.
Right, right.
And one thing I will note quickly is that the Hawks have reached out, and there is a very big possibility that their season could go to the end of May. So they are possibly asking for an extension of our regular ice service. So I'm not looking to make a decision today, but I did want to give council a heads up that the Hawks are interested in that, and I will probably bring a report back in regards to that. I don't know if there's any comments or any discussion that wants to happen tonight, but I did want to give a heads up that they have approached us asking about an extended ice season.
Okay. Jeff?
Darcy, have you checked with the minor hockey and Ringette? They may look to go longer too with their later if they do start playing games in January.
And yeah, no, and that's a fair comment. And no, I haven't yet. I just got it a couple of days ago, so I wanted to bring it here. I'm not at the point of, but I will reach out to the minor groups for sure to see if they would want to go late too, and let you guys know how much ice I would think that we could use up in April.
Hey, somebody else had their hand up. Councillor Trinkowski.
Yeah, the junior hockey, i.e. the junior B and junior C, yeah, they're starting December 1st. They're almost going to have a full schedule, slightly compressed, but their championship final rounds will be happening in late May and early June, just to give you a sense of the timetable. I learned that through my volunteer work with the local junior B club. That's the schedule that junior B and junior C run on parallel tracks as far as scheduling goes. So that's their anticipated schedule so far.
Okay, thanks, Dean. Councillor Tam.
Did we ever receive the new Zamboni, Darcy?
Yep. The new Olympia is in the arena right now. And it'll be ready to go for October. We got to do the laser, but we do that as we're putting in the ice. We set up the laser and then we'll be ready to go.
Actually, Councillor Tam, there was a picture in the Mitchell Advocate of the new Zamboni.
You guys better check the mail.
Okay, any other questions for Darcy?
Just one more, Walter.
Doug, sorry, okay.
If, and God forbid the kids go back to school and it's a disaster, we don't know. We'll just, like I said, if we could have an update on the 8th and then even on the 22nd of, because it takes you about a week, right? So you have to start on or about the 22nd of September.
Yeah, it'll be a week to a week and a half to get in the ice. So yeah.
You're just looking to hire 2 people right now.
Yeah, just 2 additional, because we will be 7 days a week for the facility attendant assistants. So I'd like to just have a couple more on the roster to allow for us to be able to share the shifts and stuff.
It'll be at the best, it'll be probably the end of September before we'll know the ramifications of the kids going back to school. So, keep our fingers crossed that everything goes well. But yeah, that's just unforeseen at this particular time. Okay, if there's no further questions for Darcy, we have a recommendation here, and I'm going to ask Carla. We want that dealt with, or is that just dealt with at the end under reports?
No, Darcy has a specific resolution for this, because in addition, he's asking for direction to recruit for the 2 facility attendants.
Okay, so the recommendation that I have here is that Municipality of West Perth accepts the Recreation and Facility Manager's report dated August the 24th as presented, and that the Council of West Perth authorize staff to begin the recruitment process to hire additional facility attendant assistants. So moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Rose. Any further discussion on that one? Nicholas?
I was thinking about the provincial funding that was announced to help cover some COVID costs. Is it specifically that specific areas that need this funding, or can we use it, for example, like these facilities attendants, because of the extra staff that is needed, that we can use some of that funding for a position like this one?
I'll maybe get either Jeff or Ange to jump in on that one as far as that fund and how it's getting used.
Okay, so that funding is, the phase one would just be a general round of funding. So it can be applied to any potential deficit in the end. So we could technically use it to offset any increase in costs for the staffing.
Any other questions with regards to that? Okay, I'm looking for a mover and seconder, I think, for that motion, I think. Oh, did I get them? I don't know. I have to, I don't have Carla sitting beside me here now, so she doesn't keep me straight. But did we get a mover?
You had Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose.
That's right. Okay, so we just didn't have the vote. Okay, so all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. And that's my one mistake for the night. I'm allowed one a night, apparently. Okay, moving on then. Next item then is the treasurer's report. And so Angela, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to further that funding announcement, they didn't give us specific details. So in terms of reporting, I'm not really sure. They kind of did that when they did the modernization money as well, the unconditional funding. So I'm sure there will be some sort of reporting, but they just haven't told us. But it's to support municipal operating pressures. So from their words. All right, the first report I have tonight is for the reinstatement of interest and penalty on accounts receivable. So that'd be property taxes, municipal drains, and water accounts. As we head into stage 3, a lot of people are headed back to work. A lot of people are kind of getting into what is the sense of new normal right now. Our collections over the second quarter and into the third quarter have remained really consistent. And contrary to our expectation, people were actually able to catch up. Some delinquent accounts were able to catch up, which has been really great for them and for us. So I'm recommending reinstating the interest as of October 1st. So this will give people the flexibility to get the August 31st installment paid and out of the way and not have to worry about it until the November 30th installment would be when the first rounds would be applied. And as usual, we will continue to work under normal circumstances with the residents to make payment arrangements if need be, if they're experiencing difficult times, that kind of thing. We had about 110,000 of interest included in the 2020 budget. It looks at this point like we've foregone about 56,000, give or take, in interest just for this COVID period from March 16th to now. So that would be property taxes, water bills, and we did have a lot of municipal drains billed out this year, so that could be why that number is slightly higher. But if there's any questions?
Okay, questions for Angela? Okay, seeing none, the motion is there that we received the report dated suspension of interest and penalty due to COVID-19, and that West Perth Council authorizes the reinstatement of interest and penalty on unpaid accounts as of October 1st, 2020, as per Municipal Act and the fees and charges bylaw. So we have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Marshall, Deputy Mayor Ait. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item then is budget variance report. Is there anything there, Angela, you want to highlight or talk about?
It's just the long anticipated budget to actual report. It's finally here. Actually, there's no concerning figures. I'm actually quite impressed at how staff are doing through this period. Everything's sort of where we wanted to see it, and where we've seen a reduction in revenues, we've also seen a reduction in expenses. So that's pretty great news. So I think with that financing that they announced, the funding that they announced, we're in pretty good shape. But I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Angela on that? Okay. Next item, 6.4.3, Infrastructure Ontario Financing.
So I included this just as a supplementary information report for the bylaw 53-2020. Infrastructure Ontario requires a bylaw in order for me to even submit an application for financing. So then another bylaw and the agreement would come back to council at a different time, which would have the terms and conditions of the financing. So we'd be applying for the Henry Street Bridge and the Fire Hall. They're both, most of their expenses should be in by the end of the year. And they're going to sit as an unfinanced capital outlay without getting the debt in to finance the projects. So we have taken into account all the other revenue sources as per the budget. So we've got some development charges, some bridge capital reserves, some water, wastewater rates for the Henry Street Bridge. And for the Fire Hall, we had that $180,000 sitting in reserve to help pay for that. And the tennis court relocation is included with the Fire Hall project because they had to be moved for that reason. So the bylaw is just the standard template provided by Infrastructure Ontario. I've estimated about 2.7 million still required for the Henry Street Bridge. But these amounts are including contingencies. So the base amount won't necessarily be what we borrow. We'll only be borrowing the amount that we've actually spent on the projects. It's just we can't go back and ask for more if we end up spending a little bit more than what was initially budgeted. So I built in a contingency there for the application only. Capital financing, the intent for it is for it to match the service life of the asset. So 20 to 25 years is pretty reasonable before you would assume a major maintenance events like a roof redo or maybe a major maintenance event on the bridge, so that the people paying for the debt, the annual debt, are the ones actually benefiting from those assets. So the increased fire service or the new bridge and the impacts that it brings. So the financial impact for 2020, there is no financial impact. We wouldn't assume that payment would be until 2021, probably March 31st, 2021. We tend to do these on a quarterly basis. Right now, debt is looking very attractive. It's about 2.01% for 20 years, which is great. And unlike, our typical mortgage with Infrastructure Ontario, we're locked in at that rate for the next 20 years, which is pretty great because we will see interest rates fluctuate in that time as well. And just a quick note on the annual repayment limit. It is maxed out at 25% of our net revenues less our net debt. So that would be about $2.6 million in annual repayment that we would max out. We are currently at just under 400,000 in debt repayments, and it is non-levy based. So these are tile loans, which we recover from landowners, and water sewer, which is built into our water sewer rates. So this would be expected to bring us up to between 600 and 700,000 in total annual repayment. Again, that's not the levy impact of this repayment, but those we will see in the 2021 budget. So if there's any questions, I can address those.
Okay. Questions with regards to that for Angela? Okay, looks good, Angela. Thank you. The next item then is 6.4.4, budget timeline and staff work plans.
So first off, I'll apologize. An earlier version of this report was attached to the agenda. We aren't actually dealing with CPI. We're kind of playing with timelines. It would be nice to get the budget up a little bit, but just due to everything that's happened in 2020 and moving to a multi-year budget, we're not going to end up moving the budget up. So the existing CPI works great for this. So this year we're going to try a 3-year forecast. So that would be for operating and capital. And the main premise of this is to give council the information to see the impact of their decisions. So for example, with the debt, we didn't really see the impact in the budget because we only did a 1-year operating budget, whereas the debt payments won't start until the following year. So it just allows you to see the impact of your decisions in the following years and to see maybe what is bottlenecking in terms of operations and that kind of item when you're making decisions. The other benefit is we would only be approving the current year at one time. So because you're seeing 3 years, you're not approving all 3 years, you're approving the first year. The other years are pretty much a supplemental information. It kind of gives you a timeline, a schedule per se that staff are planning. And then the capital forecasting is important for grants. They're really looking at us to be proactive in terms of capital planning and asset management. And presenting a multi-year capital budget is kind of us being prudent and, evening out our capital investment so that we don't have years of really high investment and years of really low investment, essentially. So we've put together a brief timeline, planning to come potentially January 20th, and then with deliberations February 3rd and February 16th. I think the first day will need to just be presentation again. We're going to have budgeting software. It's going to be multi-year, so it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look a little bit different, but all the actuals and the comparator information will be adjusted accordingly so that we're comparing apples to apples. And we threw out the possibility, and just to get some feedback on how you would feel about maybe a Wednesday, maybe an afternoon meeting as opposed to an evening meeting, just to get your thoughts on that. Not that that's what we have to do, but if anybody wants to put any input on that, that would be welcomed. And any questions?
Questions for Angela? Deputy Mayor Wright, and I'm going to put a call in here to Jeff because I'm looking after two computers here, and the one computer that I'm looking at for the agenda just went blank. So if Jeff could come and rescue me here, because I don't have a paper agenda, so I'm kind of lost here. But questions?
That's why I was going to help you, Walter.
Are you? Good, good.
I thought the county used September CPI. When did we change to June? Can you remember? We always had September as our CPI for the county, and this says it's June. And I just didn't realize we changed that.
Want to talk about it? Okay.
Both
Angela, can you,
Oh, yeah,
I know
sorry.
there was discussion on that.
I'm not sure when they changed. I just pulled them last year to see what everybody was using, and North Perth came back that they just adopted whatever the county was using, and the county said that they were using June of each year, but I'm not sure when they switched.
I can't say or comment on that, Doug, because I know there was a discussion on that, and the comment was that they were trying to get everybody the same, weren't they? And I'm not sure what was going on that.
Yeah, I thought we discussed about all moving to September. So the county would, because we always lag behind, but okay.
Well, it's a good question to bring up next Thursday.
You were the warden. I thought you might know.
Well, yeah, but I can't remember everything, Doug. I remember the discussion, and I remember there was conversations about trying to get everybody on the same page, and using the same month and that. Anna Marie?
So I'm wondering, can we change to this June CPI measurement next year? Or will that have to wait longer?
Jeff, go ahead.
So I'll answer it and I'll offer a bit of insight. So Angela mentioned that she polled the other treasurers, and we are all using slightly different measurements for CPI. And I think, we received a resolution from council at the end of 2019 that we would move from October 31st to September 30th. So we moved it ahead a whole month to help us with our budget planning. That'll suffice in the meantime. But I agree that it would be good for us all to move to a standard day across the whole county. Angela did the poll, and I imagine it'll be a conversation amongst the treasurers at some point in time. But my caution is that we have to be really conscious about when we move it, because there's an ebb and flow from month to month. And of course, this year is very complicated by COVID. And at the time when we go to move this, we're going to all want to move to the same definition and the same time. And there are slightly different definitions as well. So I really think it's a project that we felt that we were going to leave to the treasurers to tackle.
Thank you.
Other questions? Oh, sorry, Nicholas.
I like the idea of having a budget presentation and deliberations separate from council, that it can be half budget, half strategic planning, half spitballing ideas throughout that 3-year, multi-year plan. So I like that idea.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on then. The next item is 6.4.5, and it's the check registry procedure.
Yes, so as requested, we brought this back in a report format. I just did a little bit of extra digging just to see what everybody's doing in terms of their check registries. This is essentially the accounts payable report. It's just the report's name in our software.
Great.
So North Perth, they submit a summary of their account totals by department, which is essentially just a number, how much was spent by each department, and not where any of that money went. And they email out a detailed version to council, as we're suggesting here. Perth East eliminated the check registry altogether, and they do quarterly variance reports for their spending. The variance reports are your budget versus year to date, just to clarify that. Perth South does send the register on the agenda still. And Perth County has, like Perth East, just gone to the quarterly budget variance reports. Well, there was clerks had polled a bunch of municipalities about this, and over 50% of the respondents only use the budget variance reports. There was only one respondent that still provided a detailed listing on the agenda package, and all the others at least provided by email or a summarized account by department. So it wouldn't be, you know, your vendor or anything like that. It would say like transportation and a dollar amount. So all of our purchasing is authorized through the budgets, and that's how council sets how we operate and our limits of operation. And then we have to adhere to the procurement policy. So I attached it to this email just in case you wanted to reference it at all. And it was from bylaw 54/2018. And when the check registry does reach council, there isn't much we can do about it at that point. The services have been rendered, or the goods and services have been utilized, and the invoices have been paid at that point. The thing that concerns us the most, though, is the private information regarding staff going out to the public, as opposed to, you know, an activity or something like that. The IT information regarding hardware and software. So when we pay for our hardware monitoring or our software monitoring, that's an easy way to say we have this kind of a backup. So it would, you know, people could utilize that in order to have access to our systems or hack into our systems or breach our security. And as cyber security increases, I think this is becoming an increasing problem, as it maybe hasn't been in the past. And then account information, where people can see what vendors we're paying and, you know, the frequency that we pay them, the kind of things that we're purchasing from there, so that it would make it easier to mimic a staff employee. So we've considered a lot of options, but our software doesn't have a robust reporting capability. So this is pretty much the only report, other than we can do it summarized, which is like roads, X number of dollars, which doesn't really give you very much information to go by. Either that, or we can use the bi-monthly variance reports, or we can email the full listing as you're used to seeing on the consent agenda, but through email. The other thing to address was the committees and boards, and suggesting a budgeting variance report for reporting to the various boards. That'd be the Police Services Board, and any committees that we do reports to as well. So I will open this up for questions or discussion and some direction.
Okay. questions with regards to Angela's report here? Councillor Rose?
Yes, as far as the IT reasoning for not putting the information out there, again, as you all know, I'm not very computer savvy, but anyone that would be into that cyber trying to take over stuff would be a lot smarter. They wouldn't need to go and see what we're doing. They'd be, I would think, way above that. So to me, that I'm going to excuse or whatever isn't really valid. But that's just me as a layman, that's all. Point two is, I think we might be losing as council some of our, I don't want to say control, but I just think it's good that we are informed where everything goes. It'd be easier maybe just say, well, this is this account and that's that account and that's that account. But I'm always kind of worried about setting a precedent where we start little by little losing what we're voted in to do. But again, that's just my thought. Thank
you. Murray. Other comments? Councillor Marshall?
Yeah, I don't think that the specific details of who gets a check is relevant, even necessarily to council. I certainly think that having a account of what was spent each month for council, similar to what the North Perth has, where they've got the by department. I think that's what I think that's what council should have, and I think that should be available in an open council for the public to see. I think for taxpayers' dollars is one of the most important things for taxpayers to be able to go on and take a look at and see where we're spending the money. But I for who got what check and how much, I don't think that's certainly not public information. I don't think it needs to be. If there is a question about where the money is spent, then I think council should be able to get answers on it. But I don't think it's necessary, certainly for the public to see.
Okay, so just to clarify, Jeff, you don't think it's necessary to have them emailed out in a separate document to council members?
I don't think so. I don't think that even council needs to needs to see who got how much on their what check. Mm-hmm. I think that's in far greater minutia than what council's job is. I don't think it's for us to go back and why did this person get the 81 cents as opposed to 95 cents. I think our job is direction and oversight, and I think the tally by department, I think, is gives us that. And if there's concerns about where that's spent, then I think we certainly have the ability to go in and do some digging on that if necessary.
Okay, good. Thank you. Councillor Jankowski.
I guess I would offer that as part of our direction and oversight, we do need to see the details. I'd be comfortable receiving the details in an email. And then if there's any questions, I would like to see a placeholder provided in the agenda for councillors to have the opportunity to ask those questions. And then that way the questions and answers can be witnessed by the questions and answers can be asked and given with all council present, so that we all see and hear the same question and the same answer at the same time. I'd be willing to take the details off the agenda, but receive it in an email that we can review it on our own discretion privately. And then, like I say, if there's questions that are to be raised, have an opportunity at the meeting to raise those questions and receive the answers as we have in the past.
Okay, thanks, Dean. The other comment I'll make at this time too. If you do find that you do have a question with the accounts, it's as usual, it's always nice if you can contact Angela or whoever ahead of time and not catch them off guard at the meeting. So just so they're prepared to answer the question the best they can. Doug had a question, I believe.
And it's I'm the backwards guy. We all know that. She said it, Angela said it, it'll be in the budget. Quite often you see people spend money because it's in the budget and they say, well, it was in the budget. That's the only thing I like accountability for. And sometimes you lose accountability if you don't see. I don't know why sometimes we pay a beaver dam $150 and $200. We just need to see that and say, why are we paying one guy this and one guy that? I just want to see it. I don't want anybody knowing how much I charge the municipality for stuff, because unfortunately I give them a better deal than I give most people, right? So I don't need anybody knowing my business, what I do when Mike wants 500 pounds of bolts. But I'd like to see for accountability that, well, we bought this at the end of the year. We bought this chipper because it was in the budget. I never want to hear that. And I've heard that at different places, different municipalities. They spend the money. It's kind of like the school boards or something that say, well, we got $5 million. We got to spend it all or we lose it the next year. So I don't want us ever going down that road.
Yeah, and I think our staff has been fairly good that way. We often have money left over at the end of the year and we carry it forward. And sometimes, maybe more so on some of the capital things, but you leave it go until you know that you can get the best deal possible on it. So Councillor Tam had a question, I believe.
I like the same report as we got. I'm fine with an email. Doesn't matter if it's in the council package or not, but I like the same report as we were getting and the ability to question it. I'd rather see it detailed than broken down by departments.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I have a resolution here and I'll read it and we'll get a mover and seconder hopefully on it, and then we'll see where we go from here. So the recommendation is that we receive a report entitled Procedure.
Walter, we can't hear you.
Oops, sorry.
Turn away. Sorry.
Okay. I'll bring my sheet over here. Okay, you can hear me now? Okay, so the motion is that we receive the report entitled Check Registry Procedure and that council authorize staff to distribute the detailed check registry by email to all council members on the same day as the council agenda distribution, and that council suspend the detailed check registries to committees and boards, however, provide a budget variance to report to show spending. And that is the motion. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Matheson, thank you. And Councillor Bell. Okay, we've had a fair bit of discussion on this. Councillor Marshall?
I just want to make sure that does though include that there will be some kind of the budget to variance is on there bi-monthly at least, just so that there is some form of it going into the public record.
I can confirm that the normal operating plan is to get bi-monthly variance reports, very behind in 2020, but yes.
Okay, other questions? Okay, we've had the motion. Oh, Murray?
Yes. Just to clarify, so we are saying we're going to keep it as it was, or we're going to change it back? Change it. What's your motion really saying?
What we're saying is that you'll get the accounts, itemized accounts emailed to you. Okay?
Okay.
So you'll receive what you normally get now in the agenda, but it'll be sent out in a separate email. And then we will have the budget variance or budget to actual bi-monthly, so every second month. Anything else, Angela, that I'm missing here?
Hope that sounds good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, ready for the question then, and it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta do this. There's hands going up and down. If you can just keep your hands up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, those opposed? And the motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, that is everything for Angela, I believe. So good. Next is the reopening update. So, Carla, that's yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the report before you is simply for information at this time. Noted in Jeff Brick's report on July 27th. A report will be coming to this particular meeting just regarding an update on in-person council meetings, council committee board meetings. Just to update you, it all is in the report, but we are continuing to gather this information and pricing on potential alternative locations and technology. While 50 people are still permitted for indoor gatherings, physical distancing still must be maintained. Each person must always be 2 meters apart from every person. So acknowledging these requirements and limitations, in addition to all the information provided on the July 27th council meeting report, and then recently the encouragement of the medical officer of health for the Perth Public Health Unit, encouraging municipalities to continue virtual meetings as a means of managing the risk. We're just recommending that meetings continue to be held virtually at this time until we can live stream and ensure that members of the public can fully participate or even attend at some point, hopefully, a council meeting. It would be difficult to go back to in-person meetings at this time. For example, even in the current location in council chambers, we really aren't able to even have council back, and it would be difficult to have any members of the public to attend. In one of the alternative locations, it would be very few members of the public. So, for example, just for some reference, on September 8th, we have 6 public meetings scheduled to take place at that meeting. So that means there's potential for a large number of members of the public that have been invited to that date. So in this case, the notice that was sent already indicated that be held virtually. But if it weren't virtually, it was sent out to 80 property owners. And that's assuming that only 1 member from each household did attend. Now, we all know that 70 people don't generally show up, but the idea of open government is that they would have the ability to attend the council meeting. So that's just where we are. And then the update that the municipal office did in fact open as scheduled in CAO Jeff Brick's report, and it's going fairly as smoothly as it can possibly go. We are doing the on-demand service, and we're having about approximately 10 people attend a day. So if there's any questions.
Questions for Carla on her report? I was thinking, Carla, on the municipal drains, if you sent out 80 notices, I thought you were going to say that knowing the average age of farmers out there on municipal drains, 70 of them may not even have computers that would be able to join a Zoom meeting. So,
I can use a drainage meeting as an example. So we never were able to receive confirmation from the province in writing. Verbally, we can go ahead with quarter revisions and consideration of a report, but they wouldn't put that in writing. So we are looking to proceed with some considerations and a quarter revision for the 8th. But I do know that many municipalities are doing their quarter revisions virtually, including our neighbor municipalities, both controversial and non-controversial drain reports, and they're having quite a few attendees at these meetings.
Well, usually if there's an issue with a municipal drain, you certainly hear about it from the landowner before the quarter revision. So you're well aware if there's some issues there and you can address them at that time.
Absolutely.
Okay, question from Councillor Marshall.
I didn't see in there, maybe I just missed it. Is there an opportunity to start some of the committee meetings that we've been putting off? Some of the smaller committees that haven't met since practically January.
So I think what's looking at some of the smaller ones is moving, proceeding with the virtual meetings. The problem is that committees and boards are under the same act as a municipal government, so they still need to be open to the public. We would need to find the location, and then once the location, they would still need to be recorded. And that's probably why, that's where we're kind of having that technology issue, is reviewing what are our options, what does that look like, and what are we going to require to move forward. Because if you scheduled a meeting that's open to the public for a committee, you need to ensure that you're able to accommodate all the individuals, can't turn anybody away. But there's different circumstances, as noted in my report on July 27th, that you need to consider, and that could be members of the public that are currently quarantining, that are uncomfortable. You still would require that space, still require masks. So the medical officer of health was encouraging municipalities to remain virtual where they could. And so some of those committees will just be moving to virtual, but I can think of one meeting in particular. We've really only missed one meeting because they don't meet in the summer. So we're not too out of line with that committee in particular.
So Carla, is it possible to have a combination? And I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but where a small committee, could they meet in person and still have the capability, if there was a public that wanted to attend or find out what's going on, attend it by a Zoom meeting?
So that's what we're working towards, is the, if you look at what other municipalities are doing, is looking at that hybrid model and what that hybrid model looks like. So that's the research that's currently being done in terms of technology. You'd still be required to be streaming the council meetings. So yourself, if you and Jeff are even in the same room and you're trying to use Zoom at the same time, there's the feedback problems as well. So those are the kind of the technology that many municipalities are looking at. What are our options? And that's what's currently being reviewed by many.
Okay, thank you.
I think the biggest point is that local government is all government. It's about open government. So by streaming the meetings and allowing public participation. So some councils didn't allow delegations or public meetings during this time, and we did. So we're still ensuring the continuity of open government.
Okay. Something that members of council should do, and I don't know whether you've done it or not, is you should watch your own meeting on YouTube sometime and just see what other people see what's going on here. Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. Next item is correspondence, and I don't believe there is any, Carla, I don't think.
No correspondence was received.
Yeah, okay. Brings us down to agenda item number 8, and that's council reports. And the first one is the Savo Bayfield Conservation Authority 5-year forecast. Councillor Tam, do you want to comment about that?
It's pretty, it's just a proposed forecast. They're looking at 3.1% combined general and project levy over the next 5 years. The project levy jumps up a bit next year, but then it goes sort of down from there. So the average is 3.1% over 5 years is what's proposed.
Okay.
If there's any other questions or concerns, I'll take them back.
Yeah, questions for Mike on that? Okay. Environmental Services Committee, the draft minutes are here. Councillor Harold, do you want to walk us through that one?
Sure. So there wasn't a whole lot of new information at that meeting. A few notes to go over would be the installation of the turbo blowers was finalized, and they've already noticed a significant reduction in electricity usage. So that was a good news story for that. The water main at the Henry Street Bridge site has been put into service. It's a 10-inch water main. Fire hydrant flow testing in the area on the west side has confirmed a significant increase for firefighting purposes. Toronto Street West reconstruction project is well underway. Temporary water mains are tested on a weekly basis. Those would be the highlights that I would present from that meeting.
Good. Thank you, Steve. Any further questions on that committee or from that committee? Okay. I have a recommendation here. And it is that we accept the Environmental Services Committee recommendation to request payment in full of outstanding amounts. And this is, Steve didn't mention this, but this is something that came to council a month or so ago, and we referred it back to Environmental Services. And so that was the recommendation there. So I'll just go back a little bit here. The recommendation is to request payment in full of the outstanding amount as previously set precedents in accordance with section 8.5 of the water billing and collection bylaw, and that the Treasury Department make reasonable effort to negotiate an acceptable payment schedule. So we do need a mover and seconder for that motion. Moved by Deputy Mayor Ait and seconded by Councillor Harold. Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. The next item then is Upper Thames Conservation Area report. And it's actually a meeting, I guess it's coming up. Is there anything you want to add at this time, Anna Marie?
Not at this time, no. The meeting's tomorrow morning.
Right, okay. So that is all the reports I have, unless there's somebody else that has a report here. So the recommendation then is that council accepts the reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Rose. Councillor Marshall. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you. We have a number of bylaws, actually just have one, I guess, not a number. Bylaws to be passed, and it's bylaw 53 to authorize the submission of an application to the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for the reports from staff and councils as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with resolution. Okay, this is it. It's down twice. Bylaw 53 being a bylaw to authorize the submission of an application to the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for temporary and long-term financing of one or more capital projects of the corporation, Municipality of West Perth, pursuant to the floating rate capital loan facility made available excuse me, by OILC to the municipality. So the motion is that we give first, second, and third reading the bylaw 53 this 24th day of August. Mover and seconder for that bylaw. Councillor Bell and Councillor Murray. Any further discussion? I think Angela did a fairly good job of explaining that. Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The announcements were listed there in your agenda. Hard to believe, but August is quickly going by and we're soon going to be at the Labor Day weekend. And so our next council meeting will be on September the 8th. Any notices of a motion? Any other business at this time? We do have a closed session, so all right, so we do have a closed session. Motion is that we proceed into closed session at 8:12 for the purpose of a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by a municipality and information supplied in confidence to the municipality by another level of government. Moved by Councillor Vink, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? There is nothing further that I have on the agenda other than the confirmatory bylaw. And so a motion to confirm the proceeding of council here would be in order. Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose, thank you. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And finally, motion to adjourn would be in order, and that we adjourn at 8:38 p.m. Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Harold. Thank you. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.